There is something tugging at the edges of your sleep. You can't name it. You can't explain it. And yet it comes again, not with words, but with something older. A sound that isn't sound. Shape that isn't shape. A knowing that rises in the quiet between your thoughts. You try to brush it off. Call it imagination. Call it a trick of memory. But it doesn't fade, it lingers. And when you wake, there is that strange echo again. The dream you didn't understand, the symbol you never studied, the spell you never learned, and yet somehow already know. You keep trying to dismiss it because you were never taught how to hold it. You were never told that the dream could be a doorway, that a whisper could be a key. But you feel it. Even if you can't explain it, even if you can't prove it, some part of you feels it. You didn't study this. You didn't grow up speaking this language. And yet, in the dark of night, in the moment before waking, you know exactly how it feels, like home. This is not coincidence. This is a return, something within you has begun to stir. Something that doesn't belong to the version of you show to the world, this belongs to something older. This belongs to the soul you've always been. And the reason the dream keeps coming back is because you stopped listening while you were awake. So the soul waited until the world was quiet, until the noise faded, until the distractions fell away. And then, in the soft black of night, it began to whisper, not in sentences, not in logic, but in vibration, and now that whisper is growing louder. You don't need to remember the words. You don't need to understand the meaning, because what you are hearing was never meant for your mind, it was always meant for your soul. And your soul remembers, even if you don't, it remembers the shape of sound before language. It remembers the rhythm of energy before names, it remembers the way light bends when the truth enters a body. And what you are hearing in your dreams is not new, it's familiar. Familiar like an old path. Familiar like a voice you once loved. Familiar like a song your bones hum when no one is listening. You are not imagining this. You are remembering. You are not learning a spell. You are awakening to one that was sealed inside you long before you had a name. And the reason it feels so strange is because the world taught you to forget. The world taught you that power only comes through books, that magic lives in stories, that truth must be proven to be real. But your soul is older than those rules. And now it has Jacinto speak again. This isn't happening to everyone, Not everyone is dreaming like this. Not everyone is waking up feeling like something followed them from the other side. But you are, because you are ready, and the dream knows when readiness arrives. This is not random, this is resonance. The dream isn't just a message, it's a mirror, that it is showing you the part of yourself you've buried under reason, under logic, under fear. But fear is not your guide anymore. Curiosity is, and if you can sit with the dream without forcing it to make sense, it will begin to unfold. The dream isn't coming to be solved, it is coming to be received. This spell, the one that keeps threading through your nights, is not asking you to decode it. It is asking you to feel it, to trust it, to allow it. Because the soul never shouts, it only repeats itself until you are quiet enough to listen, and now you are listening. Even if you don't want to admit it, even if a part of you still questions it, you are listening. You wouldn't still be here if you weren't. You wouldn't be reading this if the energy hadn't already begun moving through you. That's how this works. Energy arrives first, then memory follows, then action, then alignment, and before you know it, you are walking differently. Not because you tried to change, but because the spell already changed you. And that is what makes this real, not a ritual, not a chant, not an altar, but the way your choices begin to shift, the way you pull back from what drains you, the way you start noticing the subtle details, the way your body begins to speak a language never knew it could hold, These are the signs, not grand, not theatrical, but undeniable. The spell is not external, it lives in you. You are not here to cast it. You are here to become it. That's the secret your soul has been waiting to reveal. And it starts with remembering, not studying, not memorizing, but remembering. Remembering that this dream isn't fiction, it's frequency. And your body knows that your frequency, your breath does. Your skin does, your heart does, and that's why you keep dreaming. Because the deeper part of you finally waking up. The question is not what the spell means. The question is, whoa, you must Pikamedo hold it. And maybe you already are. Have you ever asked yourself why a dream you can't explain feels more real than your waking life? Why certain words feel like memories instead of information? That's not coincidence, it's the soul remembering. And if this message felt like it was written for you, it's because some part of you already knows. Don't keep that knowing to yourself. Comment below with "I remember" and let your presence be known. And if your heart feels a shift, if your spirit feels seen, subscribe now. This space was created for souls like yours. For those who don't just read, but recognize. Maybe that's why the dream keeps coming back, because the spell isn't waiting for you to understand it, it is waiting for you to recognize yourself in it. And when you do, everything begins to change. Not because the dream changed, but because you did. You never asked for the dream, it arrived on its own, unafraid, uninvited, undeniable, Now it refuses to leave. You've tried to explain it away, to reduce it to imagination, to tell yourself it means nothing. But something inside you tightens every time you try to dismiss it, because some part of you knows, some part of you has always known. This dream isn't here to distract you, it's here to restore something, to bring back a truth you never stopped carrying, Gavin, when you stopped believing in it. The spell wasn't taught to you, it was woven into your soul, and now your soul is loosening its gripping. The silence it's held for lifetimes. You hear it in your breath. You see it in the spaces between your thoughts. You feel it when you are alone, but never truly lonely. Because presence now feels different. You are not waiting for something to happen. You are remembering that it already began. And in that remembering, the spell stirs again. It does not ask you to speak, that it asks you to feel, as if you can stand still while the illusion falls away. Because it will fall, not to punish you, but to reveal you. You are not who you thought you were. You are more. Not louder, but deeper. The spell does not care about titles, It does not respond to roles, It only recognizes resonance. And now that you are resonating, the dream no longer feels like a message. It feels like a mirror. And what you see there will not always be easy, but it will be true. You are being shown you that remembers, the you that never forgot, the you that walked this path long before it had a name, and that version of you not asking to be understood. It is asking to be welcomed, let it rise, let it return, let it rewire everything. Because the dream didn't come to confuse you, it came to reintroduce you to the part of yourself you've spent lifetimes waiting to meet again. And now you have, not in words, not in explanation, but in vibration, And once you've felt that, you can never unknow it, because the spell has already begun to live through you. There's something strange about the way this dream returns. It doesn't beg for attention, it doesn't shout your name. It simply arrives, soft, still, certain, and yet it leaves you stirred. You wake up and something feels off, but not wrong. Something feels moved, but not misplaced. Something inside you feels spoken to, even though no one said a word. You think, what does it mean? Why this symbol? Why this sound? Why this feeling I can't name but also can't ignore? It's not about meaning. It's about memory, not the kind stored in your brain, but the kind woven into your being. There are memories that live in the bones, not memories that rise. Through sensation. Memories that speak in dreams, Becca's. The waking world has no language for them. And the spell that keeps showing up is not coming to teach you something new. It's coming to help you remember something ancient. You don't have to decode it. You only have to feel it. Because your soul didn't learn this spell. It carried it. Through time. Through silence. Through centuries of forgetting. It's not that you are dreaming about a spell. It's that the spell is dreaming you, calling you back into the truth you've always carried, but didn't yet have the words to believe. That's why it doesn't make sense to the mind, because it wasn't written for your mind. It was written for your essence. And now your essence is stirring. What you're experiencing isn't imagination. It's integration. The parts of you that were waiting for the right moment are waking up, not to create something, but to remember what has already been seeded. You didn't ask for this. You didn't summon this spell. It came because you were ready. Even if you still feel unsure. Especially if you still feel unsure. Because uncertainty is the space where the soul begins to speak. And what it's telling you now, can it be understood all at once? It must be felt, that must be lived. You're not being asked to cast a spell. You're being asked to become it. And that's a different kind of work. The spell isn't just something that happens in your sleep. It's something that begins to shift the architecture of your everyday life. You start noticing the way people speak to you, the way energy wraps itself around your body, the way timing starts to feel uncanny, the way your intuition doesn't whisper anymore, but pulses. And with every dream, the shift deepens. You might feel tired. You might feel restless. You might feel like nothing makes sense and everything matters. These are signs of emergence. This is what it feels like when the soul starts reclaiming its own power, yet it doesn't come with lightning. It comes with rhythm. A slow alignment, a sacred arrangement. The spell is the invitation, and your life is the response. So look around. Look gently. With the eyes of the soul. What is leaving without you chasing it? What is arriving without you asking? What has become impossible to tolerate even though it used to feel normal? These are the real signs, not the dream itself, but what the dream changes. Not the symbol, but the shift. The spell is a catalyst, and your soul is responding. Don't expect others to understand. They weren't given this dream. They weren't handed this key. That doesn't make them wrong. It just means this part of the path is yours. And that sacred solitude is not a punishment. It's a consecration. You've been set apart so you can remember without distraction. You've been separated so you can unify from the inside. Because when you return to the collective, you'll do so as someone whole, someone who remembers, someone who carries light not because it was given, but because it was remembered. That's the kind of frequency the dream is. Awakening. Not borrowed. Not learned, but reawakened. And this reawakening is not always gentle. Sometimes it brings old wounds to the surface. Sometimes it cracks the identity you thought you needed. Sometimes it empties you so you can hold more. Let it. Let the dream undo you. Let the spell unravel what no longer serves. You don't have to know where it's going. You only have to keep walking. With trust. With curiosity. With reverence. The kind of reverence that knows not everything needs to be memento. Be real. Not every spell is spoken. Some are carried. Loved. Breathed. You may never speak it aloud. But you will become someone who shifts others just by being in the room. That is the magic of remembrance. It doesn't ask for attention. It moves in silence. It enters dreams. Becca's. That is where resistance softens. And now it is moving through you. Not to change you, but to return you. You don't have to make sense of this. You only have to stay open. You only have to listen. You only have to keep saying yes to what you can't explain but know is true. Because truth isn't always a fact. Sometimes It's a vibration. Sometimes it's a memory. Sometimes it's a feeling that stays even when logic walks away. And that's what this is. Not a performance, a presence. You are becoming a living presence of something ancient. And the dream is only the beginning. Some dreams don't come to entertain. They come to initiate. They don't follow stories, they follow frequencies. You know the difference, even if you haven't said it aloud, even if you've never written it down. You know this dream doesn't move like the others. It doesn't feel like a fantasy. It feels like a door. A door you've passed through before but forgot how to return. Until now. Because now it keeps appearing. Not the same way. Every time. Sometimes a word. Sometimes a gesture. Sometimes just the echo of something that never finishes saying itself. But it stays. Like smoke that never dissipates. Like light behind your eyes after you close them. This is how soul memory moves. It doesn't shout. It settles. It hums beneath your waking life until something in you is quiet enough to feel it. And now you are feeling it. You didn't go looking for this spell, but it found you anyway, because it always would have. Because it was never lost. It was simply waiting for the version of you strong enough to receive it. Not strong in force, but strong in surrender, strong in stillness, strong in the kind of trust that doesn't demand proof. You've entered that season now. That's why the dream won't leave, because the spell is not here to give you magic. It's here to return your memory. Not memory of events, but memory of essence. The kind that pulses through your fingertips. You touch something sacred and don't know why you want to cry. The kind that wraps itself around certain sounds, certain symbols, certain feelings and won't let go. You admit what you've always known. You've held this frequency before. And your life now, whether you realized it or not, has been bending around this truth. Think about it. The moments of silence you've craved without understanding. Why? The strange sensations in your chest when certain words are spoken. The way your hands want to shape energy when no one is looking. This is not behavior. This is remembering. You are not becoming a mystic. You are remembering that you always were. And the spell is just the thread pulling you home. That's why the dream is never just a dream. It's a signal, a soft summoning, a tug at the thread between timelines. You don't need to analyze it. You need to let it breathe, because what the dream is, doing just reconfiguring your field. Not just spiritually. Energetically. Biologically. You single quotes. Felt it. In the fatigue. In the chills. In the tears that come without context. You are being recalibrated, not to become someone else, but to shed the shell that kept you from yourself. The shell of logic, doubt. Of delay, of pretending you needed permission to be sacred. You never did. You only needed time, and the dream has kept perfect time with your awakening. It has shown up right when your life begins to stretch, right when you start leaving behind what no longer matches, right when the noise becomes unbearable. That's when the spell hums louder, not to warn you, but to welcome you, because transitions are loud. But memory is patient, and it waits beneath every fear for the moment. You remember how to speak without sound. You're not being asked to recite the spell. You're being asked to resonate with it. There's a difference. Reciting is mechanical. Resonating is magnetic. When your energy begins to match its frequency, you won't need to understand it. It will begin moving through you, and you'll see it in the smallest places. The way your words shift, the way your body reacts to lies. The way your presence changes a room before you even say a word. This is how the spell moves. Quietly. With precision, with purpose, because you are not learning a practice. You are becoming a presence. And the spell was just the invitation, the echo to remind you of your own original tone. So listen closely, not with your ears, but with your life. What is beginning to feel too small? What no longer makes sense even though it once gave you comfort? What feels like a disguise you can no longer wear. These are signs, not of confusion, but of alignment. The spell is calling parts of you, for worth it were never meant to stay hidden. Your voice, your knowing, your light. And this isn't happening randomly, it's happening rhythmically, like music returning to itself, like the sea remembering the shore. Your body has always known how to carry this. Your energy has always known how to hold this. The forgetting was part of the journey, but the remembering is the purpose. So stop trying to figure it out. Start letting it find you. In the space between breaths. In the dreams that linger into morning. In the way your skin reacts to frequencies that carry no name. You are not broken. You are blooming. And the spell is the scent you gave off lifetimes. Agatha, the world is finally catching up to again. Let yourself be fragrant. Let yourself be strange. Let yourself be sacred. Because that's what you are. And the dream knows it. That's why it keeps returning. Not because you're being haunted, but because you are being reawakened. The only question left is not why it's happening. The question is, will you answer it? Will you let the dream become more than memory? Will you let the spell live through your decisions, your devotion, your daily life? Will you stop waiting to understand and start living as if you already do? Because maybe you do. Maybe you always did. And this spell is just the moment you finally said yes to remembering. You're starting to feel it during the day now. It used to only come at night. In that place between dreaming and waking. That soft blur where nothing is fixed but everything feels familiar. Now it follows you into conversations. Into silences. Into moments when the world forgets itself and something deeper slips through the cracks. You feel it in your body. A shift in your chest. A tightening in your throat. Warmth across your back like a memory made of fire. It's not fear, though it used to feel like fear. It's pressure. Not to perform, to explain, but to respond. The spell is not asking for a ritual. It's asking for a RESPONSEA, living one. An embodied one, a human one. Because this kind of magic doesn't move through chants and symbols alone. It moves through choices, through presence, through the kind of honest height that shakes the ground beneath your old beliefs. You've already noticed the consequences. The people drifting, the patterns breaking, the thoughts that used to comfort feel too small. That isn't loss, that is clarity. The spell doesn't destroy. It reveals. It strips away everything that cannot hold your new frequency. It doesn't ask what you're willing to sacrifice. It shows you what's already fallen away. And in the empty spaces it leaves behind, you start to recognize something powerful. Silence, not as absence, but as alignment. You used to fear the quiet, now you wait for it. Because in the quiet, the spell speaks the loudest. Not in words, not in lines, but in how your energy begins to arrange itself around what is true. You don't feel the need to defend your shift. You don't rush to explain why you're pulling away. You don't need validation for the way your boundaries have strengthened. You're not becoming someone new. You're finally becoming someone true. And the spell has always known that. That's why it doesn't ask you to do more. It asks you to become more aware, more still, more surrendered. Because the more you surrender, the more you feel the intelligence behind it. This dream doesn't repeat by accident. It repeats because your soul is echoing, trying to harmonize with a version of you that already holds the key. That version is not far, not unreachable. Not theoretical. It lives in the room with you. It walks behind your eyes. It breathes when you pause. And if you really listen, you'll hear it calling you forward. Not with urgency. But with remembrance. The dream isn't asking you to believe in it. It's asking you to believe in yourself. The self that already knows. The self that never forgot. You are not being given power. You are being reminded of it. You are not being chosen now. You were chosen long before this body, long before this name, long before time had a number. You've felt that before, haven't you? That strange pull to ancient things, symbols you can't read, but somehow understand. Sounds that feel like home even when no one else hears them. You weren't imagining that. You were aligning, because your soul speaks in resonance. Not logic, not instruction. And that's what this spell is. A resonance. A frequency you are finally matching. You don't have to understand the mechanics of it. You don't have to trace its origin. You only have to pay attention to what it's doing to you. Because it is doing something. It's not passive. It's participatory. It's shaping your relationships. Your voice, your vision, your capacity to hold contradiction. You can't unfeel what you felt. You can't unread the energy in a room. You can't unknow what your body tells you now in the presence of falsehood. That's the spell working, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You're not just seeing the dream. You're becoming the field. It flows through, and that shift changes everything. This is why some people pull back, not because you've changed, but because your change reflects what they've resisted. You've become a mirror, and mirrors aren't always welcome. Especially when they show you what you've spent a lifetime hiding. Let them walk away. Let them misunderstand. This part of your awakening was never meant to be witnessed by everyone. Some doors must be opened in solitude. Some spells must be remembered alone, because it's not about spectacle. It's about sacredness. And you are sacred. That is the truth underneath this dream. That is what the spell has been trying to show you. Not who you might become, but who you already are. And who you are and fragile. You've endured lifetimes. You've carried ancient knowledge through fire and silence and forgetting. You've returned again it to start over but to continue. The work didn't begin here. It began long before. And now the spell is waking you up to that continuity. Not to overwhelm, but to anchor. You've been drifting for so long you forgot what it feels like to belong. But this energy, this dream, this callus showing you where home lives, not in a place, not in a presence, your own. So sit with that, not as a task, but as a recognition. The dream is not asking you to perform. It's asking you to open, to allow. To become so still that the truth doesn't have to knock. It simply walks in. And when it does, you won't need to ask what it means. You'll know, not in your mind, but in your movement, in your breath, in the way you stop doubting your own energy for the first time in forever. This is the real work, not learning. Not striving. Remembering. Receiving. Responding. The spell is not complete. It's unfolding, and you are the one unfolding with it. The dream returns again. Not softer. Not louder. Closer. Used to come from the edge of your awareness. Now it enters the center. Not like a message, but like a mirror. And when you stand before it, you don't feel small. You feel seen. You don't feel lost. You feel ancient. And in that moment, you realize something has shifted. The spell is no longer something you are trying to understand. It is something you are beginning to embody. You are not here to master the spell. You are here to become it. And that is a different kind of awakening. It doesn't require study. It requires surrender. Doesn't ask you to gather knowledge. It asks you to shed illusion. And that process is already happening. That's why your life has felt unstable. Why your relationships feel raw. Why the things that once gave you certainty feel weightless in your hands. The spell isn't destroying your foundation. It's revealing what was never rooted. And now, something stronger is taking shape. Not overnight. Not all at once, but steadily. Subtly. Credly. You may not see the change in the mirror, but you feel it in the way silence feels safer dot in the way your energy pulls back from performance, in the way your presence no longer asks to be received. You are becoming the spell beckons. You are living its frequency dot, and frequency doesn't ask for permission dot, simply resounds. This is why people around you feel different. Some lean in, some recoil, some disappear. They are not reacting to your words. They are reacting to your field. Vibration has changed. You didn't force it. You aligned with it. That's the effect of soul. Remembering dot, it rearranges what no longer matches, not out of rejection. Out of resonance dot, the dream you keep having is not coming to teach you a lesson dot. It's coming to activate your memory. You are not dreaming about potential dot. You are dreaming about identity dot. And the more you honor that, the less you question what is falling away. Because what remains is always what was meant to rise with you. That's how soul contracts work dot, not through logic, but through energy dot, not through effort, through alignment. And now, your alignment is calling your future into shape, not as something new, but as something remembered. You are walking into versions of yourself here. Soul has known for centuries dot, and each dream is not a doorway dot, it's a signal, a rhythm, a heartbeat of the sacred inside your own. And when you listen closely, you stop trying to interpret the dream and start asking a deeper question. Not what does it mean, but how does it feel? Because the feeling is the real code, not the words, not the symbols, but the resonance that lives behind them, the energy that makes your chest tighten dot, the warmth that settles behind your eyes, the tears that rise without a reason. That is the language of memory. That is the voice of the spell. And that is why you must trust what cannot be explained. Because the moment you try to shrink this process into something logical, it loses its rhythm. The spell doesn't speak in answers. It speaks in echoes. And the ones who listened in chase clarity dot, they carry presence. You are not meant to explain this journey. You are meant to walk it dot, to breathe it dot, to let it move through your choices. That is the real expression of the spell. Not recitation, but embodiment. You've already felt it dot, in the way your reactions soften dot, in the way your intuition sharpens dot, in the way your energy no longer tolerates distortion. These are not reactions. They are recalibrations. You are shifting dimensions with needing to leave this one. That is the quiet work of soul integration. And it happens in moments no one sees. When you say no without guilt, when you pause instead of proving, when you walk away without rage, when you realizeth most powerful thing you carry us, not a spoken spell but an unshakable presence. This is the part of the awakening no one talks about, not the visions, not the synchronicities, but the stillness, the kind that follows the remembering, the kind that doesn't chase, the kind that simply is. And from that place, you stop being the seeker. You become the source. That's what the dream is showing you, that you are not here to find the spell. You are here to realize that you have always been its voice, its vessel dot, its keeper, its fire. And now, you are walking as someone who no longer asks the spell to come back. Because you know it never left dot, it only waited dot, patiently dot, lovingly dot, until you were soft enough to feel again dot. And now you feel everything. Don't apologize for that. Don't question it. Let it bloom dot, let it stretch dot, let it become you. Because the spell was never something to master. It was something to remember. And you have. And the remembering has just begun. There comes a moment when the dream doesn't feel distant anymore. Dot, it doesn't feel like a mystery, or a riddle, or a secret message whispered in a language were never taught. It feels familiar, like breath, like light, like something that never actually left you, but simply waited for you to slow down and auto-feel it. The dream has not changed. You have. And that is why it now lives. Closer dot, not outside you dot, not above you, but within the quiet of your presence. You stopped chasing it. You stopped doubting it dot, and in doing so, you opened the door, was always standing behind. That door was never locked. It was only forgotten. And now, the spell flows through you like a current too old to resist. You don't need to name it. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to fit it into the frameworks you were handed by a world that only trusts what it can measure. Because the deepest truths are never measured. They are felt. And what you are feeling now is real. Even if no one else can see it. Even if no one else believes it. Even if you never find the words to describe it, your soul has never needed language. It has only needed space. And now that you've given it, that it begins to stretch. You can feel it, can't you? The shift in your rhythm. The quiet authority growing in your chest. The way time bends around certain moments. The way people pause around your presence without knowing why. This is the energy of the remembered. Not those who studied. Not those who forced. But those who listened. And now you are listening. Not just with ears, but with awareness. Not just with curiosity, but with reverence. And reverence is how the spell returns. Not in flashes. But in waves. Not in instruction, but in invitation. To walk a different way. To breathe a deeper rhythm. To carry an energy that needs no performance. Because you are no longer looking for the spell. You are letting it live. Through the way you choose. Through the way you love. Through the way you hold space for silence without needing to fill it. This is what it means to embody what once haunted you. Not to conquer it, but to honor it. You were never meant to be a vessel of formulas. You were meant to be a field of remembering. And now, your very existence calls others into their own awakening. Not by teaching, but by being. You don't need to initiate them. You simply need to remain anchored. Because your frequency does the work for you. It speaks through how you walk, through how you leave, through how you stay. That is what the spell has shaped you for. Not control. Not command, but clarity. You carry a truth now that cannot be faked. And that truth does not chase applause. It doesn't demand explanation. It lives. It pulses. It recalibrates whatever it touches. That is why people shift around you. Some lean closer. Others disappear. You are not doing anything wrong. You are vibrating differently. And vibration is its own boundary. You no longer need to say no. Your energy already speaks it. You no longer need to explain the shift. You are the shift. And even in silence, you stir something ancient in those around you. Because the spell you dream it was never about learning power. It was about remembering presence. The kind of presence that changes a room without effort. The kind of presence that stirs a memory in others of who they were before the forgetting. You are not their answer, but you are a reminder, and that is just as holy. So let them come, let them go, let them misunderstand, let them project. You are not here to be defined. You are here to be aligned. And your alignment is enough. Enough to open doors that were closed. Enough to quiet storms that were raging. Enough to hold space for miracles that have no name. You are not what you used to be. Not because something outside changed, but because something inside finally rose. And what rose cannot be buried again. You have been initiated. Not through ceremony. But through stillness. Not through doctrine, but through dream. And now, the dream has bled into your daylight. It walks with you. It watches through your eyes. It listens through your breath. And as you move through this world, you are no longer wondering what the spell means. You are wondering how to hold it without shrinking, because it is vast, not heavy. Vast. Not dangerous. But sacred. And it asks one thing of you. Now. Not obedience. Not performance, but presence. To stay soft even when the world is loud. To stay still even when everything shakes. To stay real even when illusion tempts you to disappear. That is your mastery. That is your remembrance. And in this remembrance, you no longer dream of the spell. You live it. Every word you speak with intention. Dot every truth you carry with compassion. Every boundary you hold with grace. Dot. You are the spell now. Dot. And those who find you, those who truly see you, they will not ask you for answers. They will breathe easier in your presence and not know why. Dot. They will feel safe and not need permission. They will feel seen without being exposed. And that, chosen one, is the final return. Dot. Not to a place, but to a way of mind that honors every dream your soul ever whispered to you in sleep. The dream didn't come to explain. Dot. It came to awaken. Dot. And now you are awake. Dot. Not fully. Dot. Not finally, but clearly. And that is enough, because once clarity takes root, it cannot be unrooted. You no longer need to seek. You no longer need to wait. You no longer need to prove. Only need to remain. Dot. Still. Dot. Present. Dot. Luminous. Dot. The spell is complete. Not because you finished it, but because you became it. And from now on, you will walk in remembrance, not because you were told, but because you knew. Somewhere deep beneath the noise, beneath the skin, beneath the timelines, you knew. And now the knowing walks beside you. Dot. Quiet. Dot. Steady. Dot. Unshakable. Dot. Come back.